Hey guys, this is the Hard Time Strongman podcast, cheering up a better class of man. And today we are continuing our patrolling series with episode number 2, planning. If you remember last episode, I opened up the patrolling series all on my lonesome. We talked about just the concept for the series, 7-part series, covering patrolling, as known by the Ranger Handbook, TC3-21.76, where we're going to be pulling from today. And we're just continuing down the line. So we started with the 5 principles. We're moving on to the actual planning portion of a patrol. And today I'm actually joined by my co-host, Essex. You can't just skip by the entire series. So time to pull some weight.
Listen. I can't help that I was traveling.
You could have helped, and you chose not to.
Was I traveling?
You were traveling.
I think I was traveling.
See, you don't even know. You don't even know your excuse.
Dude, I don't even know. I don't even know anymore, man. Like, things have just run together so much. It's been a busy freaking season.
The days and the weeks run together.
I'm so glad that it's kind of winding down a little bit. It really has, especially with putting together this nursery now. It's like
a lot of work. Oh,
it is. But
here we are. So, guys, planning. So, some considerations that are common to most patrols is your task organization, your initial planning and coordination, the completion of the plan, and contingency planning. So, task organization. Let's start off with what a patrol is. A patrol is a temporary organization matched to the immediate combat, reconnaissance, or security mission / task. Patrol requires a specific task and purpose. It's not its own entity. A patrol is a segment from a whole. It's a break off from the parent unit. So employment means to an end. Exactly. It fulfills a specific purpose. So then your unit continues onward. So a commander sends out a patrol from the main body, right, to conduct a specific task with a specific purpose. What we just said. Upon completion, the patrol leader returns to the main body, reports to the commander, and describes the events that took place, his patrol members and status, equipment, and some observations. Patrol leader being a title that defines the leader's role and responsibility for that mission. That can be, any rank. That can be any person that is the person that's designated to lead, this patrol for the specific task. He can designate an assistant or other support leaders as needed. So in a typical rifle squad, the squad leader would be responsible for the patrol. If you have mixed elements, people from neighboring units, you could designate an officer or an NCO.
And typically, though, you would want someone leading this to be someone who is actually organic to that squad. Yes. You want the cohesiveness, you want the chemistry there. Someone who knows his guys, his or her guys, and they know them, so that if they tell you to do something, they're just going to do it. Or on the flip side, they know the squad leader, or whoever so well that they can just predict what they're going to ask for and just execute. So by the time the squad leader goes to look, he's like, "Oh, they're already doing it."
You need to have that.
Like the second you mix in someone who's not organic to that chemistry's not there, that's when response time breaks down, and you risk, especially in a combat situation or an ambush or a movement to fire, what have you. That's when you could get people injured, killed, and you don't want to be taking casualties, especially on a patrol. Just look at Vietnam. Like that's a prime example of just when things go absolutely wrong. You want cohesiveness, otherwise you could just lose an entire patrol.
Well, and playing into what you just said, so the patrol is semi-independent, right? So it's a break off from the whole. So it's relying on the patrol is
Right.
relying on itself for security. So going into the size a little bit, patrol
Hmm.
is sized to the task and purpose of the patrol. Patrol being the mission, right? So it can be as small as as a fire team, and it can go, you know, it can grow as big as most of the parts of a company. I mean, it just
Right.
exactly. I mean,
Could be
it's
the
just
entirety
it
of the
depends on the
company.
mission.
Your reconnaissance surveillance teams are something that can be typically useful in any situation when it's just impractical to separate the responsibilities for reconnaissance from the responsibilities of security. So they are
You're pulling double duty,
meshed together, those
right?
responsibilities. Yeah,
Then your assault
exactly.
element. So this element actually seizes and secures the objective. So it protects your special teams while they complete their assigned tasks. This is your, this is the main brunt of your force here. Your security
Hmm.
element. So, oh, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
these no, no, go ahead. This is actually going to
Okay,
address what I was going to say
I
with
was just
that.
gonna say. So your security element, their job is for security in danger areas. So they secure the ORP, they isolate the objective, and they support the withdrawal of the patrol after actions on the objective are complete. So these can be broken down into separate security teams with assigns or subsequent tasks.
Also, the security element, uh, like what you said about the assault element, I think that was actually more of a security element thing, protecting special teams as they complete their
Yes,
assigned actions on the objective. This could also be assigned to like sniper teams. While the sniper teams are on an upper level of a building or objective, the security team will be securing the bottom floor.
right. Exactly. Well, and that's the thing too. So you have your implied tasks, you have your stay tasks, but also you can have special tasks too. So these are just the main, the main
Hmm.
template, right? But your commander, or your leader, whoever, can say, hey,
Right.
I know that you're part of the assault team, you're part of the security team, but I want you to do this. You have to have that flexibility there.
Yeah. Your job is now
Surprise.
this. Right. Yeah. And this leads us into your favorite element. This is your bread and butter,
Yay.
the support element. Support element provides direct and indirect fire for the unit. So when we say direct, we mean machine guns, light or medium anti armor weapons, or small recoilless rifles. Indirect being mortars, artillery,
Freaking gas.
uh, CAS, or M320 weapon system. Yeah, CAS,
And the 320. And the 320.
minigun
The
boat.
M320 under barrel or standalone grenade launcher. I don't know why people forget that it's an indirect weapon.
People sleep
Like
on that. I mean, dude, if you're using M320 as a direct weapon system, you need a
because
psychological
you're a
evaluation
monster
because
and you've lied.
if you're direct
You
impacting
you
somebody with a freaking
violated
320, good
so
lord.
many parts of the Geneva Convention. I remember when we were on the 320 range and we
Geneva
had the shock
suggestions.
rounds, right? The practice rounds. And on those closer targets, you
Uh-huh.
were punching through good inch of
Oh yeah, they go straight
freaking
through.
plywood. Just chalk rounds, clay, like slamming it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, those chalk rounds were just freaking
Yeah.
metal washers, so they're
I
gonna go
think
through
if
wood.
I remember
So just imagine what a freaking 320 round is gonna
if
do.
I remember from my
30
if I
millimeter is
remember
just gonna
from
go
my
straight through it.
specialist autistic days, back
Hmm.
when war was my special interest, it
It's a
was
40
it's
millimeter. What
4
am I talking
millimeter,
about?
but I think
Yes.
it was 75 meters per second
Mhm.
was most velocity of the 320.
Odd.
And because it was really cool when you were teaching you guys how to use the 320, you had to remember that you can't put your fingers or your hand or anything in front of the barrel because it'll do a really cool trick where it makes it disappear. Yeah.
It'll take it off. Yep,
But
David Copperfield, that shit.
my favorite squad leader, I really need to get back on topic, but my favorite squad leader, I was his 320 gunner, and he said, your job is dead space. So anywhere that we're not like directly
Mhm.
looking at anything that's open. That's for you. That's yours. And if anybody goes in that space, make them disappear. Which
Yeah.
leads us to demolition teams. So demolition teams, they prepare and detonate charges to destroy designated equipment,
Yay.
vehicles, or facilities on the objective. Or people. Like the enemy, prisoner of war, and search teams. So I've had a lot of experience in these teams. So EPW teams and search teams. So these are normally 2-man buddy teams, or can be as big as 4-man fire. I've never seen a 4-man fire team as an EPW or a search team. It's always been buddy teams. But
I haven't either.
yeah,
That's way too many people.
Search teams, you're looking for information. You're looking for what key information, key equipment, things like that. You're just combing over the objective after you've killed everything in there. EPW, same thing. If you have somebody that survived, which they shouldn't have, after you've gone through, then it's a buddy team where you clear
assault through
that person. So you're looking for wires, you're looking for information, you're looking for if they're booby trapped, yada yada yada. But all these things, guys. So the EPW teams, the demolition team, support all these. This is what we talk about with your riflemen. This is why your riflemen, even though they're the least specialized, they have to be held to an incredibly high standard because they have the most room that they need to flex out to. So when we were in even the fire team, even as a E0 rifleman, I was still designated as the EPW search guy and the what was it called? The A&Ler, but what was the buddy for the medic? What were those teams called? The CLS, Combat Lifesaver. So had a bigger
CLS.
aid bag. Yeah, had a smaller aid bag than the medic, but bigger than what normal dudes carried. And you're basically just giving more skill sets and giving more responsibility.
And you're just carrying the stuff that the medic doesn't want to carry.
That too. You're not wrong.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You didn't have to say it like that.
Exactly. So the breach element. Breach element seizes and secures the objective and protects special teams as they complete their assigned actions on the objective. So in this aspect, think more along the lines of your battle drills. So you're conducting the initial breach of a mined wire obstacle. You're taking that E0 private and you're just throwing him on top of the C wire. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. Oh,
we're not talking for real life. We're talking about
that's
per
what I was
doctrine.
trying to do.
Look, in all seriousness, give me one example of anybody other than a private getting a Medal of Honor for jumping on a grenade to save their buddies.
I'm sure it's happened. Wait, it hasn't? Dude, it's been
Tell me
a long time
I'm
since I've
wrong.
looked at the Medal of Honor list. You're probably not wrong.
Every army needs privates to die for their country. Anyways, reconnaissance teams.
I was gonna say it. He probably didn't do it voluntarily.
Well, you think someone's gonna jump on CR, jump on a grenade?
No, they're gonna grab the nearest E0 private and throw them on it, and then lay down on top of that
for his
private.
country.
So they can't move.
Reconnaissance teams.
Yep.
Normal buddy teams. So it's normally buddy teams in order to minimize protection. So you were trying to keep this element specifically really small, really quiet. So these are the dudes where you are, taking off unnecessary equipment. I'd say like absolutely necessary equipment. So your rifle, nods, maybe water, and send them out. But they recon the objective area from various vantage points once security is in place. So once security gets in place, get the signal, get the word, get word out, and they go and recon the objective area.
Your leader's plan and Your leaders are going to be the ones that plan and prepare for patrols using their troop leading procedures and a rough guesstimation of the situation. I mean, you try to pull in as much intel as you can to try and plan as effectively as possible, but let's be honest, the vast majority of this is just swag, scientific,
It's your
wild
initial mission
guessing.
analysis. Hey, there's something over there. Let's go look at it.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, not so much of a tangent, but military intelligence only has to be right 33% of the time. Just telling you. So your leaders are going to identify your required actions on the objective, your mission analysis, and they're going to plan backwards to the departure from friendly lines and forward to
This
reentry
is your
to
back
friendly
planning.
lines. So you're covering all of your bases. Yes. So from beginning to end, they're covering all their bases on this. Your patrols are going to act independently, moving beyond the direct fire support of the parent unit and operate forward of
This is what we
friendly
mean
units.
by I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Coordination
to
is
cut you
deep.
off. I was just saying this is what we mean by a patrol
No,
being a segment
no.
of the larger unit. So it breaks off from the parent unit, right? So this is why we
Yes.
say that patrols act independently, because you're moving past the support of your parent unit and you're acting in front of beyond your bigger unit and forward of friendly units. So you are acting essentially on your own for a little bit, and then you're coming back to report
Right.
what you did or saw.
And if we haven't emphasized this enough, patrolling is imperative. It is really, really imperative, especially to security of the parent
Well,
unit.
and especially a in a world where technology, and we talked about this a few times with different subjects on different episodes, but in a world where technology has become so prevalent, like you could get an obscene amount of information from radios, from aircraft, from satellites, from anything. Nothing is going to be your man on the ground. Nothing. Because at the end of the day, that's what fights and wins wars. It's not rockets, it's not bombs, it's not tanks, it's not it's not your freaking warships or your bombers. It is boots on the ground. And you're not just rolling, company deep on every single movement. You need that information from men on the ground.
Yeah, no,
And so
no.
you can almost think of it kind of like tendrils coming off of a an object, right? Or a life form, an entity, right? These little tendrils coming off, getting information and retracting back. So it's a very fluid, very, I don't know, coordinated. Yeah.
Like an octopus.
Yeah, essentially. Thanks, buddy.
There you go. I was trying to help you on that one.
we
You were struggle
were
busting,
going to
so.
get there eventually. But coordination, so coordination is detailed, thorough, and continuous throughout the planning and the preparation. Like we were saying, this is all of your best information is coming from these patrols. And as the situation develops, then that's what your leaders are working with. So,
Right. And throughout the planning process, the leaders are going to use checklists to help avoid missing any sort of vital items to the accomplishment of the mission. Because, I mean, it's still the idea of PCCs, PCIs. You're making sure you're covering your bases, you're covering every possible threat that could happen to your personnel. You don't want to lose a man. But at the same time, man, and I hate to get on this tangent, there is such thing as an acceptable loss ratio.
well, so in the NCO's creed,
It just
it's
is.
very specific with its wording and with the with the precedent it puts on each. So my two main responsibilities will always be uppermost in my mind: the accomplishment of my mission and the welfare of my soldiers. Mission comes first. Everybody knows
Yes.
that. Sucks to suck.
Mission
But
comes first.
that's where we're at.
Hmm. It is what it is. So coordination with higher headquarters includes intelligence, operations, and fire support. You need HOD. I uh, I can't tell you how many times in Afghanistan, especially sitting through op boards, we would cover intel, we would cover operations, we would cover fire support, You knew what every other person was doing, period. And it's having a grasp of the overall mission objective and the tasks of the overall, I guess, branches around you. Like it, it does give you a little bit of confidence. There's even if the mission you knew was going to suck, at the same time, if you knew what other guys were doing, it gave you more confidence that this could be dangerous, but at the same time,
Yeah.
people have got your back.
Well, and that is the nice part about those more macro views when you're getting your op board. Like, okay, this is what we're doing,
Mhm.
but oh yeah, to our south we have this completely separate unit, who's there to support us if we need be. We have guys to our east,
Right.
our west. We have CAS. We have like this is our artillery that we're able to. They can go out to
Mhm.
this distance up to this TRP or whatever, and it's just that is the beautiful part about the army machine is seeing all of that coordinate in real time. It's pretty cool. And you have a lot more experience with that working in the Opson,
Yeah,
just seeing how all that talks.
I do.
But
And it was
it's really neat.
yes. Yeah. It was really cool, especially when I was doing the graphic overlays for a while. I would throw in the actual like max effective range for the M777s out of Fenty, and you could tell exactly where in I'm not going to drop the exact area, but you could tell exactly where in that valley those M777s
Yeah.
could actually hit.
Well, and that's so important for guys that are, playing these movements, like seeing what those effective ranges are, seeing what you have
Mhm.
to actually work with. And like just those little things. I love those little
Right.
things. Like I was in the Opson one time when our team dudes were planning, we're playing an op and they're just like, all right, we need to come up with TRP names. All right, let's do birds. All right, give me birds. So I was like, parakeet. It's like, no, that's retarded. Something else. It's just like just the laissez faire. Just like give me something that we can work with. Just give me some names or some whatever. But it's like, and then that's silly, right? But then you look at the freaking board and you just have all these lines that are just like covering the entire amount. All right, nope, these are TRPs. This is our radio frequency for here. This is our freaking pace plan. These are all of our rally points along the route. And it's just like all like when you actually have guys who are knowledgeable and do their due diligence, it's a beautiful freaking thing to watch. Granted, the plan never survives first contact, but seeing everything come together, is so cool.
No, ever.
So cool.
It's so cool in concept, but it never comes to actualization unless there's absolutely no contact. And then it's just
Yeah.
boring.
On up. So the leader coordinates patrol activities with leaders of other units that will be patrolling in nearby areas at the same time. Like we talked about, you're not going to be operating alone, at least in this context, right? So as
Right.
you're playing this,
Right.
you're touching base with other leaders. They're operating in your AO, and you do what leaders do. So everybody's on the same page.
Yep. Coordinating additional QRF.
Completing the plan. So while he completes the plan, the leader is considering specified and implied tasks on or at the objective, rally points, danger areas, security/surveillance locations, along routes, and in passage lanes. So each of these is going to have, a specific task, specific standards, might have, different, these different segments are going to have a different scope in the main intent of the operation, right? So we're back planning. So in your time management, you as a leader need to estimate for, how long it takes to actually make your movement to the objective. how long it takes for you to do a leader's recon, how long it takes for you to place your security and your surveillance elements, how long it actually takes when you get to your objective, your actions on the objective, and how long it will take for you to pass back through friendly lines. All this starting on the initial planning board so that you can coordinate with all of these, all these different units and all your different elements effectively.
And that brings us to your movement. Movement speed is dependent on several factors. Ideally, you're going to average about kilometer per hour during daylight hours in wooded terrain, in best case scenario. Your average limited visibility during that time is about half a kilometer.
And you need to account for additional time for restrictive terrain like swamps, dense forests, mountains.
So your average movement speed is around 1 kilometer per hour during daylight hours of wooded terrain in the best case scenario. However, not so best case scenario, your average movement speed in limited visibility is around half a kilometer per hour. So just think about that. You got to really account for that, especially when you're planning. Because I know there have been several times in Afghanistan where I was involved from the very beginning on this planning stuff. And we checked in with our weather guys and we're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna be great. It's gonna be fine. And then we get up day of 2, 3 in the morning, we look outside and it's just like fog. Nothing but fog. And I'm going, all right, you go ahead and nuke this plan
I mean,
because
hell,
it's
man,
not gonna
you
work.
remember
Sir.
when we dropped
It's just not gonna
into,
work.
when we got off the Blackhawks, that one mission at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and visibility was 0 because it was so freaking dark.
0. Yeah, 0.
You're not moving. No,
So
you're
dark
not
that not
moving.
even nods would help.
Freaking half kilometer an hour. Like you are not moving anywhere because you can't see anything.
No. Yeah, because you're gonna bust your freak on some sharp freaking rocks.
They're
In
the size of a
Afghanistan on
freaking
mountain.
dog.
Yeah,
Do you remember that when you actually have the sunrise a little bit and you have these boulders that are just
Mhm.
everywhere? Like the hell is this place? Anyway,
I mean, I'd rather have the boulders than some of these cryptids we had walking around out there.
we're not talking about the freaking demon.
Mhm.
Screw
We won't get
that.
into that. Yeah, we're not talking
Allow
about
yourself additional time for restricted terrain.
So also-
think swamps, super dense vegetation, or forest, mountains. Mountains in Afghanistan are a lot different than mountains in Tennessee, or
Yes.
Colorado,
Yeah.
wherever else. If you have shale, if you have volcanic rock. I mean, this is all stuff like, and you're trying to move, and we'll get into actual move, but you're trying to move where you obviously aren't going to be observed and where the enemy doesn't expect you to be. So you're moving through crap. Like you're moving through the worst country that you can think of. So when you're doing your back planning, you have to account for that extra time. And I did want to say one thing about movement speed is this is the Ranger Handbook. They're assuming you're, a fire team, a line squad in size. If you're moving something like a hunter killer team or hunter killer squad, then that's a lot different, right? So whatever size element that you have, tailor this in your mind to what you have available, because that's going to be different.
Right. Yeah. The larger the element, the slower you're going to go.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Your leader's recon should take no longer than an hour and a half. That should give you plenty of time to tack down everything you need to tack down, figure out where your objective is, your rally points, your ORP, everything. And
that includes movement to the area and movement from.
And then establishing your security and your surveillance half hour tops.
Yeah. Security and surveillance, man, I would do it. Honestly, I'd be aiming for like 10, 15 minutes.
The thing is, too,
max.
is while you're emplacing your security and surveillance, while you're doing your leader's recon, all that time, you have dudes waiting. You have dudes just laying out.
Mm-hmm.
in a good spot, covered and concealed,
Yep.
protected from overhead cover or, ground observance, but you have dudes waiting in a static position is not great. You're just begging to be discovered or
No.
to meet contact. So you're trying to make this, you obviously need to be thorough, but try to do this as quickly as possible.
Right. So your leader selects the primary and alternate routes to and from the objective. Guys, we say this over and over again. It is really, really, really important to have primary, secondary, and tertiary plans in
Options.
place for everything. And yeah, you got to give yourself options. You got to give yourself the best chance to get into and out of any situation possible. And when the stuff hits the fan, you got to be able to rely on those secondary and tertiary options. There's just no way around that. And keep in mind also, when you're planning these routes to and from, you got to make sure that your return routes are not the same as the routes you took to your objective. You, I cannot emphasize this enough. For example, look at Vietnam. There were so many there's so many examples of patrols going out and coming back to the point of where the Viet Cong would realize this and they would start setting ambushes up on the return routes or leaving nasty little surprises on the routes back. It's just one of those things. But also I also want to note that if you're doing multiple patrols to the same area, don't take the same route twice. That means going to, even if you go to the same objective, don't take the same route in. Just don't do it. We learned that
Mm-hmm.
lesson also in Vietnam when the VC realized this and they would start leaving booby traps on the same route or setting up ambushes all on the same route because they knew these guys were going to be taking these same routes over and over and over and over again. Do not be predictable with this stuff, guys.
100%. All right. So special signals. So your leader is going to designate, it's going to select primary and alternate signals. So this is going to be used for, entering and exiting a patrol base ORP. So
The Team America secret signal.
and in arm signals, flares, voice, whistles, radios, IR strobe, anything that that you have within your capability, anything that, all I care about is that down to the last man, everybody's on the same page with these signals. Everybody needs to be on the same page when to use these signals and what these signals are. Obviously, don't write them down. Have that memorized. But a couple examples of this is the odd number system. So we use this one sparingly. We mainly use the like the challenge and response, like code words, but the odd number system. So you would choose a odd number. The challenge is any number that is less than that number. And then the password is a number that needs to be added to that number, added to the challenge number in order to equal your designated number. So for example, say I designate 9. You're coming into my RP, so I challenge, 7. What would be the password?
You want the public school answer,
You can do this.
or
I know you can. Yeah,
it's 2, obviously.
Right, 7,
It's
2, 7
obviously
plus
2.
2 equals 9. Good to go. I'm not going to shoot you in the face.
I'm going to emphasize these are not good challenge systems for running passwords. Because if you're running and somebody challenges you and you have to do math on the run, let's just say sometime the infantry
You're
isn't
going to get
known
shot
for
in the
their
face,
intelligence.
which is a handy reason why we use running
You're going
password.
to get
So
shot in the
running
face.
password, it's a code word that signifies that friendlies are approaching in a less than organized manner, and they may or may not be under pressure. So you would say the password followed by the number of friendlies that are approaching. So if something isn't going great, and I'm running back to my ORP. See my buddies. I don't want to get shot in the face. Say the password is red and I have 3 buddies with me. I say red 3. Or I would shout red 3. Or, however you would say it. And you wouldn't get shot in the face and you come in. It'd be great.
It's red 5. I'm coming in.
Something that we used to use. I don't know what I don't know what's technically called, but it was just a challenge and password.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
like
red, blue.
Thunder. Yeah.
And you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. That's what we used most often in my platoon.
We use that almost exclusively.
Challenge and call and response. Yeah. Another good one that I actually am sad that we don't use as often was, you remember in Saving Private Ryan, they use the little
clickers. Those things are sick.
I love those.
I've never seen them. I've never seen them in person in real life.
Those are freaking cool.
But they're awesome.
Yeah. They sound like little
they're great. Or if you have dudes that can whistle, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But not everybody can whistle.
It took me 25 years to learn how to whistle.
Your father failed you. New datasode.
That is something.
Coming soon.
Just a little tangent. That is something that my dad was horrible at. No, he was great at whistling. He just wasn't really great at teaching things that seemed like intrinsic, like things that seem natural. Like he couldn't break it down any farther. He's just like, yeah, you just do it. Just like, that doesn't help. But like I can teach somebody how to whistle. You know what I mean? It's just like bringing down Barney style. He wasn't really great at it. So leader positioning. So the leader positions wherever is best to control his patrol. So in a doctrinal patrol, right? So you have your platoon leader, you have your platoon sergeant, right? So platoon leader positions wherever is best to control his patrol. The platoon sergeant normally locates with the assaulting element in a raid or an attack to help control those forces for the platoon leader. Then he'll locate with the casualty collection point. So the platoon sergeant locates with the CCP to manage casualty treatment and evacuation. During recon, he'll also stay with the ORP to aid in the intelligence transfer between the patrol and higher HQ, and to kind of manage movement into and out of the ORP. So platoon sergeant, think of him as a second in command to the patrol leader. He is helping lead that patrol when you have those guys separated.
He is very much the personnel and morale management of that unit.
And typically,
and if you have a terrible PSG, then I
was going to say typically,
bad. Anyway,
doctrinally in that patrol, platoon sergeant is the most senior enlisted man in that patrol, right? So talking about morale, taking care of your dudes, taking care of your soldiers. He is the the old man of the soldiers. That's why he has that rapport. That's why he has that relationship with those dudes. If he's good.
Right. Yeah, if he's good. If he's not, he'll fragged. Anyway. High patience.
No, that's going public.
Okay. So unless required by the mission, you typically want to avoid contact. Typically. But sometimes, sometimes you'll play with the enemy to try to bring out contact.
Recon by fire. Unless required by the mission. If you're not doing a recon by fire, if you're not on a combat patrol, if you're not doing a raid, then you're doing a patrol to gather information. So you normally don't want to get that information by getting shot at.
And typically, you would know if you're about to do a uh, recon by fire or movement to contact at the op org
Surprise recon
because
by
your con
fires
op.
aren't fun.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Typically, you will see your con op having some kind of a level attached to it. And if it's a level 0 con op, you are not going to be going to any fire at all. And those are the ones where if you end up in a firefight, when you get back, you can yell at somebody for that. But seriously, don't do that because I'm not at all condoning that. Unless you're, not in which case have at it.
Be your own hero.
Anyway.
So,
yes.
So your plan should address
take that
so
Article
your
50.
plan should address actions on enemy contact. So what happens if you actually take contact, how to handle friendly casualties or KIAs, and the handling of EPWs. Because your unit's ability to continue the mission depends on whether or not enemy contact was made. It depends on if your unit was able to break contact if they made it successfully, meaning that your direction of movement was undetected. So you're able to break contact. They don't know where you are or where you're going. It's the only way you're able to continue your patrol. And whether or not
best way to handle EPWs
don't
is to not take EPWs.
and whether or not the unit receives any casualties due to enemy contact. That's what I was trying to say before you talked about war crimes. Thanks for that. Talk about the Gatwa.
That's why you have drop guns.
Oh my. That's why you have drop guns. Yep.
Really, really important to file the serial number off your drop gun. Really important. And they are located in more than one spot. So
if you have a good armor, just go ahead and replace the barrel. Just swap barrels with another rifle. It helps. It all helps.
Mm-hmm.
Golly. Yeah, just talk about the Gatwa. War crimes with friends.
Oh, man. We went dark pretty fast. Oh, man. We have cookies. That leads us to our contingency planning. Whenever leader leaves the main patrol body, he issues his 5-point contingency plan. We know that as a Gatwa. What we're talking about here. Let's spell it out for you. G, where the leader's going. O, others he's taken with him. P, time the leader plans to be gone. W, what to do if the leader does not return at the designated time. And A, the actions the patrol takes in the event contact is made while the leader is gone. So you're coming under fire. What are you doing? Stay behind leader is designated whenever the leader leaves the main body.
So when we talk about leaving the main body, we're talking about like leaders recon, establishing ORPs, at any point the leader needs to leave. And during this whole planning process, which will be a lot, then he's going to issue a Gatwa every time. He's going to designate a subordinate leader at that time. But yeah, a Gatwa. So I'm going to go get some cookies. Others, I'm going to bring my buddy. Time. We should be back in 5-10 minutes. W, what to do if you don't return? Call me. A, actions if you take contact, freaking fight them.
Yes. Shoot someone in the face. Shoot multiple people in the face.
Actually, action patrol takes. This is where we're going to be, poking into our rally point. So a rally point is a designated point where the unit will reassemble / reorganize if it becomes dispersed. So you went out and had a fun patrol with friends and things were not okay. You're going to go back to a rally point. Your friendlies will know which rally point to go to, actions to take, and how long to wait at each rally point before moving to another one at each phase of the patrol. So common types, you'll have your initial rally points while en route, objective, near side, and far side.
Rally points need to be easily identifiable. They need to show no signs of recent enemy activity. They need to be covered and concealed from ground and air. They need to be away from natural lines of drift and high speed avenues of approach. So if it looks like an area where someone's just going to wander down into on accident, you're probably not going to want to stay there. Usually these ORPs are in, or these rally points are just, they're in really crappy areas. That's the thing about these patrols is every stopping point needs to be in a really crappy area. They're going to want to be in an area where no one
Your
wants
rally
to actually
point,
go.
your
And
ORP,
it's
your patrol
nowhere
base,
where someone
all of it is going to be in just the worst country.
everything.
You're going to have a hell of a time getting there because that's the whole point. Is that someone's doing a map recon or they're just overlooking the terrain and they're like, oh, dude, there's no way. That's where you want your rally point or your RP or your patrol base.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, this is
no one's going to be
crap.
here.
But yeah, they also need to be defendable for a short period of time. Yeah, they need to be defendable for a short period of time.
Right. And as with anything on this, your leader is going to be designating these rally points and he's going to be designated, your initial, but also contingencies, right? Primary and alternate for everything.
Mm-hmm.
That should be implied at this point.
Yep.
But your ORP, your objective rally point. So this point is 200 to 400 meters away from your objective or one major terrain feature away from
Hidden Valley Ranch salad dressing.
Your objective. Hills, valleys, ridges, salls, depressions. Actions on ORP. What were you going to say? No, what were you going to say?
Your actions on the
what were you
ORP
say?
are going to be conduct. Well, I was going to repeat Hidden Valley Ranch salad dressing. That's the mnemonic.
I love it so much.
I love
it's still in there.
I just love Lane F. Period. It is, dude. I will never forget it ever. I can still teach it.
Anyways, actions at the ORP.
So actions at the ORP. You're going to conduct your SILs. So your stop, look, listen, smell. If it seems out of the ordinary, probably is. Either
this
check
isn't
it
just
or
your
move
leader.
on.
This is everybody.
Don't stop there.
Every single person in that patrol is stopping and they're
everybody. Lottie dottie, every freaking body. Also at your ORP, you're going to pinpoint your location. You want to know exactly where you are and you want to relay that up to higher because you want them to know where you are just in case they accidentally or purposely fire off a round like 820 millimeter.
Or white phosphorus.
Anyway. Yes, or white phosphorus, which, yay, fun chalk rounds. Spicy. Why is it spicy? You're going to want to conduct your leader's recon of the objective. You're going to want to issue a frag ord if needed, because, like we said, the best laid plan does not survive first contact. So you're want to, if you need to change it up.
Well, and your intelligence that you have beforehand can say wherever the hell it wants to, until you get eyes on during that leader's recon.
Yeah, but once you get
that
there,
could change everything.
It could change everything. Good Lord, you may get there and the objective might not even be there. Had that happen before. Looking at you. Yeah, I know you're going to cut that out. Doesn't matter.
I was just thinking, it's like, what the hell? It's supposed to be here.
Such a fun time. I cannot tell you how many times we'd go into a freaking town and be like, hey, yeah, we're looking for this guy. He died like 15 years ago, or he moved 3 months ago. Like, seriously? Yeah, his house is right there. You can go check it. We go check it. Yep, nobody's lived there.
Thanks. I hate it.
Damn it. Or, hey, there's a freaking cache of weapons here. We go and check it, and nope, just a bunch of freaking Campbell spiders.
You're also performing your final preparations before you continue the operation. So you're inspecting your weapons, you're preparing your first aid kits, your litters, you're lining up your rucksacks,
PCCs,
your
PCIs.
EPW zip ties, you're camouflaging, you're doing
drop guns.
You're doing everything you need to do before you can go do the thing.
Yep.
And
you're reapplying that
and you
camo.
count for friendlies and equipment after actions on the objective, as with anything.
Oh God, Sergeant, I forgot my nods.
And
there's a reason why so many privates are being found in short, shallow graves.
And like you talked about earlier, if no contact is made, then you're just disseminating whatever information you got from the reconnaissance.
Further expounding on what we're talking about with your actions at the ORP, from the leader's perspective, once you get to the leader's recon of objective, this is where we're picking up from. So once you establish the ORP, the leader conducts their recon. Before he departs, he issues his 5-point contingency plan, the GOPLA. During the recon, the leader pinpoints the objective. He selects reconnaissance, security, support, and assault positions. And then, of course, he adjusts the plan based on observations of the objective. He's not just going to say, oh, yeah, the plan's good, unless the plan is truly good based off of his observations. 9 times out of 10, once you get to the objective, that plan changes. You got to be able to adjust on the fly, because you may have set up an Overwatch position where you think you're going to have great views of the entire objective, and all you can see is the backside of a freaking tree, or you're just in heavy brush, heavy wooded area, and you have absolutely no visibility on that. Or you could set up a security position at a road, and what do you know? The road's washed out. There's no way anybody can use that. So you can either change it or set the security on this road.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. Is I can't tell you how many times
it's those kind of things.
I've been set in security and then I can't see anything. And it's like, nah, this isn't going to work. Like, I have to move.
More often than not.
I don't know what you want me to do.
Right, exactly. Like, unless you want me to pull out my freaking pocket knife and start hacking down this vegetation so I can actually see,
right,
I'm going to move.
All right, brother, do you have anything else?
For this, not off the top of my head. Patrolling in itself is such an involved thing. It seems very simple, and for those of us who've actually done it enough times, this is second nature. All of this is second nature.
It's natural. They naturally, the idea, the concept flows into itself. Natural. But yeah, trying to teach, it is a lot for someone who hasn't done it before. That's why we're breaking this into 7 parts, right? So this was part 207. We covered the planning stages. Next week, we're going to talk about actual reconnaissance patrols. But do you have anything else? No?
Nope.
Join us on Discord. Join the Discord. Join the Patreon, Substack. We're putting out Instagram. We're putting out new information all the time. We're trying to meet the needs of where you guys are at and trying to add value so that everybody can get a piece of this and we can just, raise up that better class of man. So thank you for joining us. We're the Hard Time Strongman podcast. Join the better class of man with part 2 of 7 of our patrolling miniseries. Stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.
Hey guys, this is 6 and 7 with the Hard Time Strongman podcast. Wanted to take a second to do a mental health check-in and to tell y'all about the 988 Crisis Lifeline. So the 988 Lifeline is a national network of local crisis centers that provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the United States. You can reach the Lifeline at 988lifeline.org, or you can call or text 988 to get help, to get someone real on the phone.
Every struggle is different. Every struggle is hard, but you are not alone in whatever you're going through. As someone who has used the 988 crisis line, I fully recommend that if you're feeling any of those feelings of depression, suicide, hopelessness, get in touch with them immediately. They will help you. They will listen to you.
Once again, guys, you can reach the Lifeline at 988lifeline.org, or you can call or text them at 988. As always, guys, stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.